Welcome back, everyone. Okay, today we're venturing into some absolutely wild, profound, and honestly kind of ethereal territory. In this explainer, we're going to look deep into the Mahaparinirvana Sutra. It's a foundational text of Mahayana Buddhism, and we're going to unpack a really shocking contradiction right at the heart of its philosophy. I mean, just imagine being handed a cup by the greatest spiritual teacher in history. You're told that what's inside contains the ultimate truth of the universe, but here's the catch, and it's a big one. Depending entirely on how you consume it, it'll either grant you eternal liberation or it will instantly destroy your spiritual life. So let's just dive right into this dialectical logic because it's fascinating. The entire sutra basically revolves around this central, captivating mystery. The Buddha is presenting his ultimate, final teaching before passing into nirvana. And yet, he actually warns his followers that this very teaching, this pristine, perfect truth, has a dual nature. Like, how is it even possible that the exact same words, the exact same philosophy, can act as a life-saving medicine for one person and literally a lethal poison for the person sitting right next to them? Well, the Buddha states it with striking clarity. He says that his ultimate teachings are like sweet dew and also like poison. Now, context is absolutely crucial here. Sweet dew isn't just some refreshing morning drink, right? It's a translation of the word amruta, which is the legendary mythical nectar of immortality in ancient Indian tradition. So the stakes here, they are absolute. We are talking about the profound difference between spiritual immortality and spiritual death, all hinging on a single teaching. To really grasp this, we have to look at the core misunderstanding. Like, why exactly does this teaching become poison? You see, earlier in his life, the Buddha taught non-self and impermanence as a medicine to help people detach from their egos. But when that's taken too far, the medicine becomes completely toxic. The foolish hear non-self and just nosedive into absolute nihilism. They start believing that nothing exists, nothing matters, and we're all just empty voids. That exact misunderstanding, that is the poison. It literally kills their spiritual growth. But for the wise, the nectar is understanding that beyond the illusion of the ego, there lies an eternal reality within us, the Buddha nature. The exact same teaching of emptiness cures the ego, but poisons the mind if you mistake it for sheer nothingness. And this brilliantly illustrates how this truth unfolds over time. The sutra uses a super famous progression. It goes from fresh milk to sour milk to butter to clarified butter and finally to ghee, the absolute richest, most refined essence. The Buddha compares his various teachings over the years to this exact process. The early teachings are kind of like the milk, but this final teaching of the Mahaparinirvana Sutra, that's the ghee. But notice the logic here. This is key. The essence of the ghee was already present inside the fresh milk from the very beginning. It just needed to be drawn out. Let's apply that ghee metaphor directly to you and me. Just as the cow eats ordinary grass, turning it into milk, which eventually becomes that perfect ghee, ordinary beings like us already possess the ultimate perfection right inside of us. The Buddha nature isn't something you have to go out and somehow acquire from the universe. No way. The potential for ultimate perfection was inside all along, just waiting to be refined and realized. Now, to fully grasp how radical this idea was at the time, think about how we traditionally approach the three jewels. As practitioners, we're totally accustomed to taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha as external pillars. We're taught to look up to them, rely upon them as separate, distinct sources of guidance outside of ourselves. We treat the teacher, the teaching, and the community as objects of veneration entirely separate from our own minds. But here is where the sutra asks us to just completely shift our perspective. The Buddha suddenly tells his followers not to view these three jewels as separate external entities. I mean, if you've spent your whole life bowing to an external Buddha, reading external texts, and relying on an external community, this question changes absolutely everything. Why did the Buddha say these three distinct jewels are actually just one thing? So here's the subtle, profound truth of the matter, that separation was only ever a teaching tool for dualistic minds. The sutra reveals that ultimately, within your own inherent Buddha nature, the teacher, the teaching, and the community are completely unified. They're equal. You don't need to look outside yourself for refuge anymore. The ultimate refuge, the true three jewels, reside perfectly within your own mind once it's cleared of all those dualistic illusions. Let's move to a fascinating story the sutra uses to explain this, the parable of the lost sword. It goes like this. A prince has this magnificent, pristine sword, but he loses it. Later, a poor man who had only glimpsed it in a dream is asked by the king what the sword looked like. The ignorant man describes it as looking like a ram's horn, or maybe a black snake. Everyone starts debating these absurd shapes. But when the prince finally returns with the actual sword, it's exquisite, it's pure, and it looks absolutely nothing like their wild guesses. The king's ministers arguing over the ram's horn perfectly represent ordinary people arguing about the self. You see, before this sutra, people actually believed the self was the ego. Some even thought it was the size of a thumb, or like a mustard seed living inside the heart. Total illusions. The Buddha taught non-self specifically to destroy these ridiculous ram's horn illusions, to destroy the false self. He literally had to take away the fake sword so that the true sword could finally be revealed. And that brings us to the climax of this explainer, the moment the pristine sword is unsheathed. The Buddha declares, the true self that the Tathagata teaches today is called Buddha nature. This is the ultimate medicine, guys. It is not a return to the selfish ego. No, it's the revelation of an eternal, pure, and unchanging reality that forms the absolute core of every single living being. To explain how we get from our ordinary confusion to this ultimate truth, the sutra introduces another brilliant framework. It's called the alphabet of truth. Think about how you learn to read. You don't just pick up a book and start with complex poetry, right? You start with the alphabet. You learn individual letters and sounds. The Buddha divides his teachings into half letters and full letters. The half letters are those foundational teachings. They deal with the dualistic world of suffering, impermanence, and breaking down the ego. And they are absolutely necessary but incomplete on their own. If you stop there, boom, you ingest the poison of nihilism. The full letters, on the other hand, represent the ultimate, complete truth of the Mahayana, the eternal, joyful, and pure reality of nirvana and the Buddha nature. You learn the half letters only so you can eventually read the full letters. And what exactly do those full letters spell out? Well, they reveal that our divine potential isn't absent, it's just obscured. The sutra paints this with some incredibly vivid imagery. Your Buddha nature is like pure gold buried deep inside raw, dirty ore. Or it's like rich oil that just needs to be pressed out of sesame seeds. It's as if we're all blind, just waiting for a skilled doctor with a golden scalpel to restore the vision we had all along. The gold and the vision, they were always there. They were just hidden by the dirt of our daily afflictions. Now, you might be thinking, well, we definitely don't live in a world of pure gold right now. And you're right. We live in a messy reality. The sutra addresses this beautifully. It says, like the Kalavenka and mandarin ducks that never separate, suffering and joy exist together until ultimate nirvana. Just as these mythical birds fly together in inseparable pairs, our current reality is a mix. Impermanence and permanence, the false self and the true self, they fly together in our dualistic world. So bringing this all together for what it means to you and me, the crucial point is transcending that dualistic logic to realize your inner perfection. The teaching within this sutra isn't just some abstract philosophical exercise. It's a map. It's urging us to stop seeing the world purely in terms of me versus the universe, or suffering versus joy. It's an invitation to see past the raw ore and recognize the pure gold that is already sitting perfectly formed inside you. Which leads us to the grand finale. This is the most empowering, awe-inspiring declaration in the entire text. It's so simple, but it shatters everything. Every being has the Buddha nature. Not just monks, not just saints, every single being. Your mind, at its absolute most fundamental level, is literally no different from the Buddha's mind. The nectar of immortality isn't a magical drink you find. It's the profound realization of who you already are. I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on today. If the ultimate truth, the perfect teacher, the highest teaching, and the purest community, the true three jewels, already reside perfectly within you, right now, what ram's horns are you still arguing over? What illusions in your daily life are you still mistaking for reality? Thank you so much for exploring this profound text with me today, and I highly encourage you to keep questioning the reality you see.